We spoke, so to speak, before the elections of the Chief Rabbinate, and I shared with you some of Hiddush's positions regarding religious freedom and the Chief Rabbinate. We are now after the elections. We know who was elected, and we know why the two chief rabbis that were elected are in place. They're in place because the system is rigged and is reflective of the dominance of the ultra-Orthodox political and rabbinic leadership. Interestingly, Prime Minister Netanyahu actually sided with them in selecting the ultra-Orthodox candidates over the Zionist candidates, not because of strong theological convictions on his part, but because of longer-term political considerations on his part, namely realizing that his coalition may fall apart at any given point over other issues, and wanting to prepare the ground for realigning with the ultra-Orthodox parties. So where are we? A, the ultra-Orthodox candidates prevailed over the more modern, more Zionist Orthodox candidates. This reflects, one, the writing is on the wall, numbers-wise, political impact-wise, and in terms of the numerous appointments that they have established on the ground over the course of many years of controlling the religious system in Israel. The ultra-Orthodox have the upper hand. The Zionist camp is split, and it is actually forces within Habayit HaYehudi, within the Jewish home, that sabotaged the election of Rabbi Stav by supporting a more rigid, more conservative candidate. And what we now face is two chief rabbis who are, I shouldn't say unknown entities, because we know exactly where they'll go. They'll go wherever the ultra-Orthodox rabbinic leadership will tell them to go. They will take orders because they were put into place by these authorities. How do we know? Well, it's been public knowledge in Israel, and the first thing they did after being elected is come and pay their respects to Rabbi Yosef, the leader of Shas, and to Rabbi Steinman, the leader of the Lithuanian yeshiva world, who are indeed responsible for selecting them as chief rabbis. We already know that there were understandings and commitments made before the election as to a more rigid view that they will take, both on with regard to the Shemitah year that's coming up and with regard to conversion and other issues. So the bottom line is, I don't want to say we told you so. The selection of Rabbi Stav was a misguided notion from the first place, because the issue, A, he was doomed to fail, and two, he too wanted a coercive chief rabbinate. Yes, with a smile, but nevertheless a coercive, monopolistic, orthodox chief rabbinate. So the answer for Israelis and for world Jewry alike is going back to the core principles of the State of Israel: freedom of religion and equality. The notion of a chief rabbinate is a foreign, Gentile notion. It never existed in normal Jewish history. It does not exist in normal democracies. For Israel, any chief rabbinate is an anomaly and should be replaced by, let there be celebration of freedom and celebration of equality. Rabbis are important. Rabbis with state authority are an anathema.